Hello and welcome to the Kevin T channel, where today I'm gonna show you how to change an oil in a truck, or at least my vehicle anyhow. And you're probably wondering why I'm wearing safety glasses. Well, oil has a tendency to splatter. I've learned from past experience. So let's begin. What you're gonna need is the lug nut, which would be a 5/8 possibly. For my truck it's a 5/8, and one of these things, it's a breaker bar with a turnable socket. And you're going to need an oil pan, which you can see right here, something of that nature. And if you look up close enough, you'll see a lug nut approximately right about here. That's what we're taking off. Now, if I'm right, I've got the camera aimed at this particular angle, and it's not as easy as you would imagine. So yeah. So let's see if we can't get this bad boy to turn loose. Oh, there it goes. Oil's coming out. Yep. It's coming out. And sometimes your socket gets stuck up in there. It's dripping. Oil changes usually take about 30 minutes or so, depending on how much oil is in the tank, how much oil you have in there residually. Now it seems to be stuck up there. But as you can see, the oil seems to be coming down quite nicely, dripping and oozing. Please stay tuned when I show you more. Now that we have the lug nut out, which is approximately this size, then we'll let the oil drain for a while and drip, which it seems to be dripping quite nicely. And eventually we'll take out the oil filter, which can be a struggle on a vehicle like this because it also depends on the vehicle. So keep tuning in and let's see what we can do. To drain out more oil, since it seems to be a slight trickle or whatever, I'm going to take the oil cap off, which will also release some of the air out of the oil. Each vehicle is different, so therefore just take the oil cap off. It'll either be on the side or on the front. I've had it in some strange places, so depends on where the manufacturer manufactured the engine. Mine, however, is, as you can see, right there. Right there. So that would be my oil area. So just let it drain for at least a good 30 minutes. Time to keep the tripod steady. At least a good 30 minutes or so. And so forth. The hotter the engine, the better the drain. The colder the engine, the longer it's going to take. Unfortunately, my engine's very cold and I don't like dealing with hot engines. So stay tuned and I'll show you how to change the oil filter. Okay. Time to pull the oil filter. Since it's right now at a drip stage, I can easily pull the oil filter and still manage to keep the oil pan, or the oil collector I should say, underneath both areas. The oil drainage and the oil filter. So, my oil filter happens to be directly underneath the engine port, or the exhaust. So it's become a little bit of a tricky situation. I have to stick my whole entire arm underneath there and have some height. I would recommend whoever has designed this truck to redesign the newer ones to be a little less tedious. So, if you'll excuse me, I've got to go get a ladder. Alright, now I'm ready to remove the oil filter. As I said before, I got to stick my whole entire arm down in there. This is a Ford Ranger 2001 XLT, by the way. And I'll post that listing on the video, of course, obviously. But this is not as easy as it looks. So, let's dive in, shall we? And I do have the oil catcher directly underneath. Yep, direct hit. I heard the oil drop down on the oil catcher, and it seems to be quite easy to remove this time. And there we have it, folks. Slipping and sliding all the way down. And it got stuck. Again. Needs more stuff. One hand all nice and oily. Bullseye. Right on the target. And that is how you remove a pain in the butt oil filter. Whew. Now if I can just pause this thing without getting oil on my phone. Ah yeah, the nice pinky. Pause. Alright. Oil filter is down and is sitting upright in the oil catcher. So the rest of the oil out of the oil filter can drain into the oil catcher. Whew. It's not easy changing your oil. Well, the oil filter, I'm not going to show you which product I use. I'll turn it away from the camera, but any mechanic will be able to recognize this. But this is what an oil filter looks like. I've got one with a nice rough thing on it so I can twist it off. The oil filter, essentially, oil goes in here and filters the oil while the engine's running. Essentially, post your comments if I'm wrong. Feel free. I'll take any criticism I can get. This is the first time I've done an oil change on video. In 10 minutes flat with pausing. And then there's two things to oil. There's your natural oil and there's your synthetic oil. Supposedly natural oil doesn't last longer. It's like wool carpet. It's a natural fiber and it's going to run down real quickly because of trafficking and whatnot. Natural oils run about 3,000 miles. Synthetic oils supposedly run every 5,000 miles. Again, for you mechanics out there, feel free to comment on this. I love your input. I would love to hear it. Trust me, anything that works. I've already been told, use synthetic oil, use this oil filter. It run your truck for 5,000 to 10,000 miles straight. Yeah, I know better than that. Considering a car don't run without oil. And if it's all burned out of the system, you might as well go ahead and replace the piston. Anyhow, check back in a few seconds while I catch my breath. And we'll put on the new oil filter and put a new thing of oil in. Okay, all the oil has been drained out of the oil tank. Now it's time to put this little thing back in so we can actually put oil back in the truck without it going all over the place. And I know somebody's bound to have done that in their lifetime. Can't say I have, but there's a first time for everything. But then again, why would you put oil in a vehicle without putting the oil plug back in? Now, I'm going to take this right here, wipe up some of the excess, trying to get it to stop draining a little bit. See if it'll close up. And to lock it in place, I'm going to go ahead and put it in my socket here. And sort of kind of screw it in like so. And try not to dethread this thing. Dethreading is basically where you rethread a whole entire strip of threads on a screw because it didn't match the threads in the first place. make sure it's kind of snug. There we go. Sort of kind of, not even a full tight turn or two or whatever. It just needs to be snug on there. And kind of wipe off the around the bolt a little bit. Get some of the excess out of there. Alright, now we're ready to put the oil in the truck. And also put the oil filter in. But first, the oil filter, which is usually a pain in the butt because you got to do it at an angle. So let's put the oil filter in. Now usually when dealing with the oil filter, I kind of want to put a little bit of oil on the top base here. That way it has some type of lubricant already going in. And plus it was suggested by an old friend I used to work with. He says it works better that way. Oil is going to go directly into the filter when you crank up the truck anyhow. Or crank up the vehicle. So there's no sense in trying to put oil into the filter, especially when your filter is at an angle. If I can get this oil lid off. And of course, multi-purpose. Get the seal that's on it off. Interesting, very interesting. Okay. This is going to be very interesting as to how to do this. Not getting oil everywhere. See? Oh, not supposed to see that. Not supposed to see that. My secret. This goes viral. I will put that I don't own any copyrights to whatever you just saw. Alright. That be that. Oh, microfiber cloth here. Okay. Put the lid back on that so it don't spill out. And now, let's see if we can't filter the truck. So I will take this, moving it on the tripod. Whoop, whoop. About to lose my phone. About to lose my phone. Thanks. Hold for 1 second. Alright. Now that I have the tripod stable, after a little finagling, now it's time to put the oil filter on. Which can be, again, a little bit of a pain. Better not do that. Alright. I gotta get her down in there. I can take my safety glasses off at this point because I'm not draining any oil. I'm just simply trying to put the oil filter back in. I'm gonna go ahead and pause it right now. Okay, after a wee bit of struggle and going to grease lightning and some elbow grease, I'm going to get the oil filter on. It's not easy being at an angle of about 10% or more. Now, let's get the oil in. Alright, now we're about to put the oil in. I typically use a funnel, one of these things, because I have such a weird angle. So, and since I don't want you knowing the product, got to turn the back. So, you'll just watch me from the rear. And there goes the pour. Now, typically with a 3-liter truck, you're going to use the whole entire 5 liters of the oil, I found. And this is very golden rich oil for a synthetic. I've had some that had an actual purple dye to it, and for you mechanics, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it has come quite clear. Oh yeah. Let's see how this runs on my truck. We've got the oil plug in, we've got the oil filter in, and we're about to have all the oil in. Try and let it drain for at least a few more minutes with the bottles, because they tend to have excess or drippage, a little residual and so forth. So like draining honey from a bottle. You try to get all the honey out. Alright. And that is that. Now that that's done, got the oil in. Now when I crank her up, she'll be purring like a kitten. But again, use the oil to the best of your knowledge and use what you think is right. Not all vehicles are the same. Please use manufacturing specifications on 520, 1020, 1030, whatever is good for your vehicle. Not all vehicles are the same, thus not all oil chambers are the same. So thank you, and keep watching, and please subscribe to my channel. This completes the vehicle oil change for a Ford Ranger XLT 2001. Thank you, and please subscribe to my channel. Again.